What's good with the fam, man? We back again with another vid. Hope y'all doing well, living well. Today we in a different location, but that don't change the words that I'm saying, man. Today we gonna talk about the power of imagination and how it's one of the key things to manifestation, and also my personal experiences with that. So with that being said, man, I want to just get straight into it and talk about the power of imagination, the power of seeing. So if you think about it, probably not every single thing in your life right now, but majority are things you once thought about within your head, seen it in your mind, and say, I want that in reality. But first, you seen it within the reality within you, and therefore it's presented to you within external reality. But the only way it could have happened is because you saw it first. Now think about everything behind me, this whole city, everything in this room are all things that somebody first thought about, saw it in their mind, believed it enough, put enough energy into the action and created that, and now it's a thing that can be many things, can be perceived in many ways, or just whatever the case may be. But just think, everything in this universe started as a thought, started as somebody's imagination. Now what we can do with that is everything. It's just about your concentration and your focus. That's the biggest thing, because a lot of us, or just think, all day every day you're imagining, you're thinking all day every day. So you may not be living in the reality you want to live. Sorry for the city noise, but you may not be living in the reality you want to live because you're constantly imagining the reality you don't want. And it's not even just having the thought, but it's the focus and the concentration. That's one of the biggest things I realized within my life. If I'm constantly focusing on bad things, man, I don't know, they got a whole motorcade of motorcycles out there. Let's see. Yep, that's exactly what it is. But yeah, if you're focusing on the wrong thing and focusing on the things you don't want all day, what do you think you're gonna get? The things you do want? I've been reading this book. It's called Outsmarting Reality, and it talks about how literal it is that the universe reflects to you. As I'm talking about focus, I just seen 200 motorcycles drive by, but we're back focused on what we need to. Anyway, as I'm saying, yeah, man, the power of focus. Most people and most of us are focusing on the reality that we don't want. Just think about complaining. Complaining is just reaffirming the reality that you don't want and accepting it. But the opposite of that would be gratitude. And the same thing that you complain about, you can actually be grateful for. Like, for instance, I could have sat here, okay, I won't lie, actually. I did complain about those motorcycles, but I'm also grateful they came because it was a cool experience to see, although they interrupted my video, right? So as you can see, that's the power of simply changing your perspective. But also, let's get back to imagination and the power of that. So the power of your imagination is literally your power of life. If you just, okay, I like to think about it like this, and this is a new discovery that I found. Think of your mind as like a space, like a room, right? So if you're not gonna let a bunch of people you don't like, a bunch of things you don't like in your room. It's your room, it's your sacred space. So think of your mind like that. Why do you continuously let things you don't like, things you don't want, things you hate, or whatever the case, sit in your mind and manifest into your reality? Because you're constantly focusing on it. And I think it's also like, I could see it from the other perspective, because when you focus on negative things, a lot of people do it as a means to be safe and trying to keep themselves safe. And fear, believe it or not, is here to keep us safe, but it's keeping us too safe in a way where we fear to experience new realities, new places, new people, because we're trying to be familiar and keep ourselves safe. So if you go out and do all these different things or whatever, then you're letting go of that familiarity. So with that being said, man, your imagination is everything. Think of your imagination as your house. So be mindful of the different things you focus on. We're all gonna have negative thoughts. You can't exempt yourself from having a negative thought pass through your head. But the difference between people is how much they choose to believe that thought, focus on it, and imagine it into reality. And the other day, me and my homie, we do this like bi-weekly call where we just talk about life, and we have it structured and everything. And this past week we did a visualization, and the visualization was to imagine your dream life 3 years from now, or imagine what your life would be 3 years from now. And I took about 10 minutes and just extremely vividly imagined my life down to the most minute details. And it was such a liberating, fun experience to just see and bring everything, all my desires, into my reality, and hold that imagination and hold that image within my mind. And now I can clearly see that as a reality that I'm on my way to, right? And not even on my way to, that I'm aligning to be with right now at this moment. So yeah, man, your imagination is everything. What you imagine, the images you hold in your mind, cultivate, shape your reality. And also, just like coming here, I just seen TikTok, Chicago on TikTok, and I'm like, oh, that looks like somewhere fun I can go. Start looking at places to stay, things I could do, and told my homie about it. We put our minds together, and now somehow we sitting in this hotel room. I was just in my bedroom, just at work last week. But just holding that image and knowing that your reality is the reality you hold in your mind. Your focus is so important. What you focus on is who you are. So if you're constantly focused on the negative, the worst things in life, expect your life to be the worst. And it's not hard to rewire your mind. It's just about getting out of the things that are comfortable, because if you've been imagining a negative reality, you've probably been doing it for the past week, month, year, life. So it's not as easy because you're used to it. But the more you get out of that focus, the more you remind yourself and become aware and know that, okay, I am not imagining the reality that I like to attract, that I like to be in. Let me switch my focus, switch my mindset, switch how I see about this situation. Like I was saying, the same thing you can complain about is the same thing you can find infinite gratitude for. It's just about you choosing that. And I don't think life is unfair, but it's the choices we make. You see people come from terrible environments and have wonderful lives. You see people come from wonderful environments and end up having terrible lives. So it's on you. It's on what you choose to imagine. And don't feel like, oh, I gotta do this, it's an obligation, all that. But know that you have the power, and you constantly have the power, and everything in your life you have created with this power, with this imagination of holding your focus and concentration on these images. So just think about your last week. What things were you thinking about? Images were you holding in your head? And how do those things manifest into your reality today? Because trust me, if you just pay attention to your reality and pay attention, at first it's just paying attention to what you focus on. What are you thinking about and holding in your base emotional state on a daily basis? Start there, and then put yourself in the opposite. So as I was reading in this book, it talked about, like, if you feel unloved on a daily basis, think about all the times where people have made you feel loved, or feel loved right now, and hold that feeling. The biggest thing also that I should have mentioned earlier in the video is it's not only imagination, but the feelings you have with the things you imagine. If you feel conviction with things you imagine, they have no choice but to manifest into reality. So how you feel is such a big thing. Just pay attention to how you feel and feel your way through life. I appreciate y'all for watching. I love y'all. We out. Unlimited.